I'm Ben.
I'm Ron.
I'm Chris.
I'm Jason, and this is Hometown Has-Beens. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Hometown Has-Beens, episode 32, the first episode of 2025. So happy New Year. Hopefully you had a good Christmas. I went to Disney, had a blast. We'll talk about that on a future episode. But we got a lot going on today. So before we get into it, I want to tell you about today's sponsor, Ringtree. My small business owners, this one's for you. If you're like most small business owners, you're probably using your personal cell phone for everything. But your business deserves its own number. That's where Ringtree comes in. They make it super easy to get a pro business phone set up. We're talking custom greetings, call routing, AI virtual receptionist, the works, without any complicated hardware setup. Just sign up, pick your number, and you're good to go. Plus, Ringtree is giving Hometown Has-Beens listeners 10% off their first month when you use the code HOMETOWN10 at ringtree.io. That's ringtree.io, promo code HOMETOWN10. All right. Today's a special treat. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, you're not seeing this, but we actually have this video to accompany the podcast on YouTube. And we are in a historic location. Shout out to Dr. Ann Hopkins, Coach Cleveland, everybody at the board who let us use this facility. And we've got two local legends with us today, Coach Dennis Marlow and Coach Doug Thacker, who we'll probably just call Coach Marlow and Coach Thacker for the entire podcast.
That'll be okay. That'll
Probably
be great.
still are.
Legends right
edit
here.
it. Probably still are.
These if you don't know these guys, you hadn't been around Banks County long.
Yeah, for sure.
They got decades of experience and probably decades of stories they can't tell us. But we're just going to get into it. So this is, you know these guys, Chris, Ben, Ryan, and me. And now we got Coach Thacker over here, Coach Marlow right here beside me.
OG Thacker.
Yeah, the OG Coach Thacker.
Yeah, there's a lot of students that are going to be watching this for the first time and realize that I'm just a sad imposter. That I'm not the real Coach Thacker.
You're saying you're not filling your father's shoes?
No, not at all.
The fact that you'd be compared to him is an honor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Depends on who you ask.
Yeah. It just depends on the day.
Well, it's kind of like,
Yeah,
if an
definitely
NBA
depends on
player
who you
gets
ask.
compared to LeBron, to Michael in any way, they have to be great in some way if they're compared, right?
That'd be pretty good. Yeah, yeah, be pretty
Right,
good.
like,
Yeah,
just to be
pretty
the
good.
same sentence.
I don't know. That's a good comparison, though, with LeBron and his son. Because his son is not good.
Bronny.
Yeah, that's a good comparison. There
It's
you
kind of
go.
like a
Yeah.
reflection of what's going on over
I'm
here.
glad charity still exists, though.
Whatever.
Well, I'm glad we're doing this because I have an opportunity now just to tell Coach Doug Thacker how much he meant to me and how much he meant to these kids and how much he meant to this program.
I appreciate it, but I'm going to tell you, about 90% of what I know about football or anything else, I learned from this guy, and I want y'all to hear his stories more than mine.
Bless your
Well, and
heart.
I can actually say I can attest to what he's saying too, because I mean I've spent my whole life, thinking the world of Dennis and and him as as a coach and everything else, just because of what I heard in the house growing up. So
Yeah.
So you just tell a lot of
he
lies.
definitely thinks the world of you, Coach.
Well, let's get started here with.
Well, this is going to be nonfiction, right?
Right, nonfiction. Sometimes there's a blur, sometimes it's kind of blurry. It gets.
Which one of those are true,
embellished over
fiction or
years.
nonfiction?
Yeah. Every good story got lied too.
Yeah, that's right. So we got a literature teacher over here to help us
We
out.
got a guy who teaches literature. Don't call him a literature teacher.
Yeah, clarify.
Oh, I bet he's good. Hey, I want to start with the story where Coach Marlow and the other staff, this is about 2 years, I guess, before I came here, 2 or 3 years, they built the press box down here. And
We
they said,
literally built the press
right,
box.
we're going to need a press box. And
The other one failed.
right, the other one failed. Well, we're going to need a press
Windstorm.
box. Well, y'all better get busy, they told them. And so,
That's when y'all built the one on this side, on the where it is now.
right, one before this one, that's right. One before the one that's still down there.
Oh, so not the
Well,
one
see,
that's still down there. This
Right.
is before.
Well, when I first came here, I taught construction. It was called industrial arts, which was construction. And I guess they said, well, he can teach construction. He could probably construct. So we got to construct the field house. I mean, not the field house, but the
Were you
press
able to
box.
use students to do that?
They would come down there and watch. But no, I'll be honest with you, I was so afraid that they might get hurt because it was up off the ground. We put it up on telephone post, and we brought our deer stands, our portable deer stands that you can climb with trees. And that's how we climbed up with those deer stands and put the band around it to start the construction of the actual building. So the kids got to watch. They didn't know we were constructing something.
Oh,
So what
man.
we're saying is, if any coaches nowadays, they put in the request and blah 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 blah. That didn't happen back then. You just went and did it.
Well,
No, we didn't
you
put
can
in
put in all the
requests.
requests you wanted to. It just didn't really get met that much. But he,
We got Ben over here.
they did really good. Hey,
Ben's gonna start doing this over here in a minute.
is this?
Oh,
If
man.
I'm not close enough now, I don't think you get close now. Anyway, we're gonna edit this out. Okay. All right. Anyway, I first heard this story because I asked why the press box had a little lean to it. I mean, now that's not to say that he missed it bad, but you don't have to miss much. They don't have to be off. But and you'd be surprised how much a couple of inches difference in the length of the posts make when you start talking about the press box sitting on top of it. Well, then you had a ladder. You had to climb up on top of that, and that was the crow's nest. So on Friday night, that's where I'd sit. Well, the ladder made you lean this way, and so I'd be climbing up, and you knew coaching was dangerous, because you knew one slip, you fall to your death. Well, then we had a cameraman. And we had the cameras. Then it was in a box. It was about this big,
About
old,
4 foot by 4 foot.
about 4 foot by 4 foot. Well, we couldn't ask the cameraman to carry that up, and so I would go up that ladder and I'd put that over my shoulder and I'd go up like that with one hand. And you never stop to think until it's all over with. That you'd run a perfectly good camera and maybe killed me if I slipped one time.
I never will forget the evening. It was during, I believe it was October deer season had just opened, and we went down to set up the camera on the press box. We had to run that deer hunter off because he was up there deer hunting.
It was probably one of your students' dads heard y'all.
Well, there was a lot of deer at that time. There was a lot of deer on the far end of the field, and it was a pretty good shot, I guess, clean shot.
and it looked like a deer stand
You
anyway.
could drive right to it and pick it up.
He
too.
should have been.
You might be a redneck
Successful.
if you've ever deer hunted out of
Out of the
Press box.
Well, I'm going to tell you, I never had the privilege of hunting a place that would have been as good as that one would have been, because you could sit there and.
They'd come out every afternoon.
Right.
Oh,
Every
Coach, I can remember in
afternoon.
middle school, in the locker room in the mornings during school, we'd come put our stuff in baseball season, and you could look outside or during football season, and right behind the gym right here, big deer.
It's all them muscadines back there.
Right.
Back then, people brought their spotlights to the football games during halftime.
Well,
Turn the lights out and spotlight.
plenty of food sources. I used to go get me some muscadines during water breaks. We'd give the kids a water break, and I'd go pick some muscadines. It was just 2 feet behind the bleachers down
Oh
here.
man,
And that was the home.
The home side was the other
over
side
that
back
there. Right, right.
yeah.
And then they had just some tiny bleachers over here next to the state-of-the-art press box. And
So other than decent ladders and building structures, what advancements in technology, like in sports today, do you wish you guys would have had when you were coaching? Do you see?
Electricity would have been nice.
running water. I mean, with any water we needed down there, we fill up in great big coolers.
You have to
and
bust it
different
into
things.
the county.
Well, we'd fill it up in the lunchroom,
Yeah.
and then we carry it all the way down here. Well, a major advance in technology was when we discovered those carts we could put them on and wheel them down the
Wheel
bank
them.
instead of having to
Discover
carry them all
wheels.
the time. That's right. That's
Oh,
right.
man.
Remember when we built the homemade sprinkler system?
Yeah.
We saw, we're kids. We were trying to water, out of a bucket and everything. So we built a sprinkler system that the kids could actually, it would actually spray a mist,
Right.
and it would cool them off.
cool
If
thing.
they got real hot, of course, they had to wait on the coaches to get out of the way before they could use it.
So-
I think they were using those in
PVC
the elementary and middle school
PVC
during
pipe.
COVID for the
So-
kids to walk through the Lysol.
So I've heard. Now y'all gonna have to confirm or deny that football camp back in the day, everyone would come here for I forget how long, sleep in the gym, and then you'd do 2 a days. They'd walk down to Tiny Town or the Leopard. Is all that true? Did y'all?
No, we took a bus to Tiny Town.
Oh, you took a bus to Tiny
But I
Town.
just got my CDL.
So I mean, I can't imagine. Well, I mean, I guess I can't, but yeah, getting all the kids in here for how many days was it?
It was a week anyway.
Yeah.
But
It
I'll
was.
be honest with you, I did away with football camp because a lot of the kids really didn't have the proper equipment or whatever
Yeah.
to sleep at night. So,
Yeah.
And somebody told me, said, you can't make them come to 2 a day. They won't come. And I said, if they want to play, they'll come. And, we were pretty adamant about that, and we didn't have a problem with kids not showing up.
And I sure it made me want to show up more because when we had it where we had to spend the night here.
After about
I mean,
the third day,
Well, yeah, they hired me on a Thursday. Football camp started on a Sunday, and so I had plenty of time to learn the playbook and all that. And they had and so I'd say, I'd grab a kid in my position group and say, now, what do we do on this play? I mean, I was asking kids, what do you do on this play? Because, I mean, I had 2 days to learn the whole playbook. And they had a set of springs. No mattress. I slept on. Now, I'm not making this up either. Took a couple of blankets to give me some padding and slept on some springs, and that's what I slept on. That. So yes, when he did away with camp, he had my approval on doing that.
Oh, I'm sure. I can't imagine getting a whole football team in staying in here for a week and. Shoo, that sounds rough.
I'm sure
to be
it
honest.
was not air conditioned.
Horrible.
The
Yeah,
I was about
yeah.
to say, y'all just had the big
conditioner were those
fans.
2 fans.
Well, they were too exhausted by Wednesday to do anything. That was the problem with doing it that way. And then they could go home at night. We could stay as late as we needed to, but still, if you could go home, if they got to go home and then come back, it worked a lot better. I think that was a good decision overall.
Lord, you have so many questions from mamas and daddies. If you try to it'd be like,
Oh, yeah.
be
Now,
like,
the mamas and daddies wasn't real happy about them coming back home.
they wanted them to-
They
yeah.
came and spent the night. They enjoyed that, but
Nowadays they'd be
we
like,
got a few calls about
they'd be
that.
like, make sure little Timmy got his inhaler.
Yeah.
Oh
I
man,
think, the biggest difference that I see now is, let's see, you coach one sport, you coach one, and you coach one. Is that right, or does any of you do two? Well, you
we
did.
don't coach
I know.
anymore.
I know.
They're retired.
Yeah.
I know you retired, but
Yes,
you were
sir.
just doing one when you were doing
Jason
it,
did
right?
2
I did
once.
two a year.
I did
Yeah.
2 for a couple years.
Well, then, like, he was the first wrestling coach here. You can tell him that story
Yeah,
in a
we'll
minute.
get to that.
And then, and I don't know if track had ever been a sport here or not. Some people said it had, some said it hadn't. So I don't know if I was the first track coach or not, but I know I was the first one in a long time. And I did high school, middle school, boys and girls, did 4 track teams. And, and the biggest problem with it was that I played baseball in high school. I never ran track. And so I went out in the community and found people that, used to do anything. Yeah, I used to high jump. Okay, you come teach them to do that. And we didn't, and another drawback was not having a track. we had the
Probably
parking
should have
lot.
led with that.
We had,
Hey, we'll start a track team. We ain't got a track, but just figure it out.
that's okay.
Let's start a
we had,
swimming
we
team.
had the parking lot, and we had the football field, and the distance runners run on the football field, and we'd bring the sprinters up here, had 2 sets of starting blocks, and so we'd alternate everybody to get in and practice that so they'd be used to it.
Yeah.
And that was the second year we added the starting blocks. The first year we all went from a standing start, and
Yeah.
everybody else had blocks. And we had several people state finalists. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Wow.
It's more that it's more about who the kids are than who the coaches
Yeah,
are, or what
yeah.
they know, or anything else. I think it's what the kids want to put
Yeah.
into it.
Yeah, that's
And,
true.
and then the wrestling story, you tell them about what people thought we were having in the gym here in the Leopard's Den.
Well, the first year we had a wrestling program here, the first match, we had a lady in the community, and she did the paper. She did everything. She took the pictures. She wrote the articles. She was the Banks County Journal. She was it. And I called her one day, and I said, I'm not going to use any names, but I said, we're going to have a wrestling match in the gym up here Friday night. Will you put an article in the paper about it? And she said, sure, I will. So Thursday, it came out on Thursday. So Thursday, the paper come out on the front page. It says wrestling, Homer Gym, Friday night.
Oh no! Jake the Snake.
So we,
That's exactly.
so we were out here.
Big
My
flag.
wife was taking up the money, and the place was packed.
Y'all,
I mean, it was packed.
Coach
And
Hanley, I
after
hope you
about-
getting ideas.
Yeah, and then after about it didn't take but about maybe 2 matches, a little lady come up to me. She said, "Listen, Sonny," she said, I want my money back. I said, why? She said, this ain't real wrestling. She said, this is play wrestling. They don't even have a ring, post, or nothing. And I said, yes, ma'am, here's your money back. So after about another 10 minutes, I looked around, I think there was about 7 people still here, and they were parents of the wrestlers. So, true story, but it was a lot of fun.
That's funny.
awesome, man.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, it's come a long way.
So why don't y'all tell us like how you grew up? Did y'all play sports? Where you grew up? How'd you find your way to Banks County? I don't care who starts, but
Go ahead, Doug.
I grew up in Pickens County, and I played several sports, but the only one that I was any good at was baseball, really. And I came here to go to Piedmont College and ended up staying in the area. But I was in business, worked for a financial institution for several years, and I got around 30 and decided I wanted to do this. And I had applied at Banks County several different times. They didn't have anything, and I decided I was going to take a job somewhere else. And the phone rang, and it was Doc Sisk, who was the superintendent
Doc
then.
Sisk.
You still want a teaching job? You better believe it. He said, okay, well then come on down, and signed all the paperwork and everything. And this was on that Thursday I was talking about, and then by Sunday I was sleeping on those box springs back there.
now you skipped over the fact that you went to Piedmont for.
I'd like to point out
something.
that he says he's not good at anything else,
Right.
and then he played tennis at Piedmont. So
Right,
I'd like to point out.
Yeah. college tennis.
I did go to school at Piedmont, and I came here. I was going to play baseball, and I played one fall season. And I was standing in the outfield one day during batting practice, and I saw the tennis team practice, and I thought, well, I'm better than most of them. And so, I was looking at probably 2 years of riding the pine in baseball before I'd get in. Well, and because it was just like I was a freshman. But I'd been out of school 2 years, and I'd gone to Reinhardt College, which didn't. It's a university now and has all kinds of sports, but they didn't even have intercollegiate sports then, just intramurals. And so I hadn't even played, in 2 years, but I didn't have 2 years. Bottom line, I didn't have 2 years to ride the pine, but like the rest of the freshmen did. And so I went out and after that fall season, I went back, and by the spring I was playing tennis.
And Reinhardt's where you got like good enough to play tennis, right? Because didn't you play intramural
that's
there?
One of the things they did was they had tennis tournaments all the time. And I won a couple of them and got pretty good at it. But I still planned on going back to baseball when I went to Piedmont. And then I get there, and and I was pretty far down the depth chart, and I'm figuring that I would eventually have gotten to play. And a lot of the people ahead of me quit before the spring even turned around. It turns out if I'd stayed with it, I probably would have played, but I didn't know that. And besides, tennis was a little more laid back, and that sort of thing. I just didn't want to put the time in that baseball required at that time. And tennis was a new sport at Piedmont then. They played a limited schedule, and I had more time just to do other things, and so I did that. It's remarkable that Ben switched from baseball to tennis, that because we didn't plan it that way. And I certainly don't think he planned, well, I'm going to do it like Dad did, or I certainly hope not.
Well,
it just worked out that way.
Like we mentioned early in the episode, I'm like a, worse version of him because he did all that at the collegiate level. I quit baseball in high school to switch to tennis, so it's like I'm just like
1 year, but that's not that's not true. I mean, when they hired him, I told Coach Brown, I said, what you're getting is me with upgrades. I said, he actually knows how to turn. He's got.
That's the first lie that's been told today.
That's a lie.
He's got. He knows how to turn a computer on, things like that.
Ben, have you ever just been standing and then look and see a bunch of people playing a sport and being like, nah, I'm better than them, and it being at a collegiate level?
Yes, but it's not true usually. I've never lacked confidence. So yeah, I think that I could beat a lot of people at a lot of things. sometimes I'm right. Like pickleball, it's any idiot can do that. And disc golf turned out to be relatively
It's just
easy.
too popular now.
Wait. What'd you say about disc golf?
It's a lot easier than regular golf.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Just about anything's easier than regular
That's
golf.
true.
This is true.
That's a true statement.
Interesting point.
Regular golf. Well, and the thing is like golf, the ball's not even moving, and it's that hard. Like, I don't know, but
Well,
it's
apparently, we're too far from the ground.
So, Coach Marlow, where'd you grow up? How'd you get here?
I grew up where I'm still at.
Yeah.
Over in Jackson County, a little place called Holly Springs. Went to North Jackson Elementary School. When I left North Jackson, I went to Jefferson High School. And so blessed at that time, there was a head football coach down there named Jim Lofton. And one of the winningest coaches in Georgia. And he kind of took me under his arm, but we had great coaches. We had Coach Lofton, head football coach, Jim Stadmeyer, Jack King, wrestling coach. Jefferson's won no telling how many state championships in wrestling under him.
Yep.
Bob Evans, John Bray, and I have to give John Burns, who was like a coach. But I was around a lot of really good coaches, and we had some success at Jefferson. We did okay. But after graduating from Jefferson, Coach Lofton helped me get in the University of Georgia. And never will forget that. But he had a lot of influence on me. In my life, they were my parents, my mom and my daddy. Greatest people I've ever been around. But Coach Lofton's right there, number 3. And then, he was, and then all those coaches were phenomenal. They really cared about the kids. And that's the one thing I want to spend a little time on for coaches this day and time. You don't fool kids. They know if you truly care about them, they know it.
That's right.
That's never going to change. So if you're coaching and you really don't care about those kids, you don't need to be
They'll
coaching.
know.
They'll know.
Yep.
So, again, I was around, influenced by a lot of really, really good people. Got in the University of Georgia, graduated from the University of Georgia. And Coach Lofton, he's gone. He's no longer with us. But when I mention his name to some other coaches that's been in the business for a few years, they recognize, they know him and know of him. And like I said, he still opens doors for me today. If I'm in a certain place and I mention that name, and they say, well, how'd you know him? And I would tell them the story. But, again, just a phenomenal place. And when I came to Banks County, I fell in love with the place, Banks County, and the people. The people are genuine. They're good. Some of the best people I know. I met my wife here. We've been married 42 years, I think, coming April the 11th this year. Been so blessed, and had opportunities as a coach to go to other places. Never entered my mind to leave and go anywhere else. Because the teachers, the administration was very supportive here. The kids are outstanding, and like I said, I couldn't think of another place I'd rather go. I'd rather stay here and work at Banks County than to go somewhere else and win state championship after state championship after state championship because of the people.
Yeah, there you go.
And I
Coach Marlow, can you talk a little bit how much better Banks County is than Jefferson?
I love Jefferson. I had a chance to go back to Jefferson.
We can edit that part.
And like I said, I like it here. The people here are genuine. You know what you got. They're the type people who are extremely honest. If you don't want to know what they're thinking, don't ask them because they'll tell you. You know what? I like that.
That's it.
At least you know where you stand.
You know where you stand.
I think, because there's a website Jason and I were looking at that shows win totals by school. And I don't think that it's a coincidence that you had the success you had here. I mean, because you're the winningest coach in Banks County football history. And I think because you took the approach that you're talking about as far as actually caring about the kids, I think that probably had a lot to do with it because, that my whole life, that's how I've remembered you even from the time I was my son's age is, somebody that connected with the community. And I think in a place like this, that's how you get kids to perform is connecting with them, and not having an attitude that, like you're an outsider coming in because you're not from here, and but you came here and it became your home, right? So, I think that's why you had the success.
Well, no, the reason that we had success here that we had was simply because it wasn't because of me. It was because of I was a part of it, but I wasn't the reason.
Oh, I don't.
I mean, coaches like Coach Thacker.
Oh, of course.
I mean, I had great coaches here. We had a lot of great coaches here. And the faculty, they genuinely cared about the kids, and the kids sensed that. Kids are not stupid. They know when you're sincere, when you're dealing with them and everything. They pick up on that. But the people that worked here truly cared about the kids they were working with. I'm talking about teachers, coaches, administrators, from top to bottom. They all cared
Talking about
the kids.
some of the teams you had, who were a few of the people that stand out in your mind of some of the best football players that you had come through here when it come to it could be a few different positions. Who were some of the ones?
Feel free to leave our names out, like as best players ever. Everybody but us.
But who were some of the most talented that you got the privilege of coaching?
I'll have to say this and give him complete credit for it because he deserves it. But Ronnie Parson was the head football coach here when I came here, and he hired me, and I had the opportunity to work with Coach Parson for 2 or 3 years. But there was a running back here. His name was Terry.
I think he was.
I've never heard of that guy.
Yeah. Anyway, he I don't have to say that much about him. He went to Clemson and did great and played for the Minnesota Vikings. I think he was drafted by the Vikings. Played for the Washington Redskins, and there might have been a couple of other teams that he played for.
I just can't remember.
But outstanding football player. But I had a lot of kids, and I'm not going to start calling out names because I'm getting a little age on me, and I might forget one.
Yeah.
And I don't want to forget any of them. They were all good, but we had some kids here that just believed in themselves, and they worked hard, and we were able to accomplish some things on the field that had not been accomplished before. Not necessarily because we had maybe our equipment was a little bit better. We had upgraded the weight room and done some things. I tell people this all the time. If I could give any advice to coaches this day and time, or anybody in any sports field, I'd simply say this: that you play your games in the fall, okay, but you win them in the off season. You win them, and now all these teams that went to the final, state championships this year in football, they probably either they won the state or they didn't win the state or whatever, but I'll bet you 90% of them was back in the weight room. They maybe took a week off after the season ended, but they were back in the weight room a week later lifting weights, not for this past season, getting ready for next year. And, I've always said this, you play your games in the fall, but you win them in the off season, and the ones that work the hardest are the ones that's going to win.
Do you have any, or either do y'all have any teams or seasons that really stood out to you? Like, so just when you think back on things, gosh, that was a fun team to be with, coach, and fun team to be around, or had a lot of success or whatever.
Well, I'm gonna be honest with you. We enjoyed all of them. Now we enjoyed. We had 2 teams that. We went 8-2 2 years and did okay. We had 7 winning seasons in 10 years. I'm proud of that. We never had a losing season back to back. We had losing season, but we never had 2 in a row. I'm proud of that. But it was, like I said, it was just a lot of fun, and I can tell certain games. And again, I'm not here to. First of all, it's a shame that when 2 teams meet on a football field, that both of them can't walk off at the end of that game, both of them winners. But in a way, they are both winners. But, outscore someone, beat them by, whatever, that's not what it's about. It's about, the competition. And if you knock someone down, you pick them up. It's about, the camaraderie of having teams and being a part of a team. And you can get a lot more accomplished when you play as a team. Now, I've had, some of my heated moments when I had my heated discussions or lectures with some players. We've had some over the years. It's all about me. Well, it ain't all about you. It's about us.
I want to hear the heated stories.
There's no I in
I wanna
team.
hear the
Well,
heat.
I don't
There is a
have any
me.
of those because I was always completely calm. And all that.
That's because you had to be. If you got too wound up, you fell out of that press
I
box.
didn't want to fall off of that thing. Oh, I forgot to mention it didn't have a rail. But
Well, it did. We
Platform.
put
after
one
a while,
up.
we put a rail.
First week you didn't have
After
a
that
rail.
other assistant
That was
coach
we
fell.
saw we needed a rail pretty important.
After that ref
We're
made that
making
bad
it sound
call.
like we were unusual. We'd go other places and be proud of our facilities after we saw what they had. I mean, we've gone to some other places that had some unusual things. Had one place where a limb from a tree hung over the end zone. So,
Nice.
you had to be careful about
Was it in play? Like if it hit the limb, was it incomplete pass?
but I mean,
or
it
like
was
if it hit
too
the
high
limb?
for it to matter unless you really threw a high one.
They
in
wasn't going
there.
to catch it, no way.
Right. Wouldn't
know if you could use it, you know?
Wouldn't have been a catchable ball, so they couldn't
man.
call interference.
Well,
on
you were
the
talking about always being calm. Are you allowed to tell the story about the still active Major League umpire that threw you out of a game?
Oh, yeah, I don't mind
Okay.
telling that.
Yeah,
Hear
tell
that
us-
one.
I got
Let's
nothing on
hear
that.
that.
Yeah, Marvin Hudson, who is still a Major League umpire. I don't know if he'd remember me or not. I
would
suppose he
remember
would,
you.
but he was oh, yeah, he would. Well, we were over at White County, and they had a long fly. We hit a long fly ball, and I know to this day that ball was fair. And that would have been walk-off win home run, and he called it foul. You know, he was home plate umpire, so he looks down the line, he calls it foul, and I go out there, and I really show myself. You know, he doesn't throw me out, but, I mean, I act like a complete idiot. And, like,
Let's
a
go.
week after that, I'm driving down the road, and I just bought this old car. Had a flat tire. Well, I get out, I'm going to change it. Well, there's no spare. And so I set out walking, you know, and finally a car comes along and picks me up. Marvin Hudson. No. And I'm sitting there thinking, boy, you're a better man than I am. Because if somebody talked to me like I talked to you the other day, you'd still be walking. I'll tell you that much right now, you know.
Well, you know, I talk to some refs pretty bad too. When they see me out, they pretty good at
You know, it's
separating it.
the way to do that, though, if I was going to be an official, I'd model myself after this one guy. He wouldn't argue with you.
Mm-hmm.
And he would tell you, you're probably right. He just didn't see it that way. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm wanting him to get heated. I want a
Yeah,
fight.
yeah.
You know, Coach, you're probably right, but
Yeah.
but I didn't see it that way.
Yeah.
That was the most frustrating thing.
Yeah, oh yeah. When
in
they
the
would
world.
say that, they used to tell me like, Ryan, I missed that one. Well, I didn't know how to argue back with that.
Yeah.
You know, well, don't miss it next time.
Killing them with
Sounds like you
kindness.
should have been a wrestling coach.
yeah, it could have been the kind you're talking about with the ring and all. Well, I actually was from one day. He had to go on a trip and got me to fill in. So I said, "What do you tell him? You know, get them." I don't know. But back then, I think I coached probably 7 different sports, and they tell them how many
Jeez.
different ones, and taught 7 or 8 different subjects. I mean, you did what you had to do.
7
You know,
sports. How many
you talking about
sports
wearing a lot of hats.
did you coach?
Everybody did. It wasn't me. It was everybody back then.
Over my career,
Yeah.
I coached 3 different sports.
3 and 7. So
We were
10,
always busy.
10 sports.
Yeah.
Jeez.
He
Oh,
only
man.
coached the ones he knew something about. Like if they needed somebody to do something, didn't have anybody to do it, I'd just tell them I'll
Doug will
do
do
it.
it. Doug will do it.
That's right.
You taught for 31 years, and of those 31, were there any years that you didn't coach anything?
Your senior year, I didn't officially, and then Coach Ruth ended up asking me to come out there and help him out with tennis a little bit. And
Yeah.
so I guess that you could call that coaching. I didn't get paid. That's the only year I didn't get paid.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's
One
crazy.
year out of
That's
31.
30
But he still coached.
years.
I mean, I
He
was
didn't
still
get paid
doing
for
it to the end. Yeah, and, you know, but when you switch from high school football and baseball to middle school softball and tennis, the difference in the amount of hours you're putting in is tremendous, or it was then. I don't think it matters now.
Yeah.
I think you coach a middle school sport, you're still tied up year round. Just,
Yeah.
Pretty much.
you know, it was a way to stay in it, but not, you know, but
Yeah.
to be able to go home more.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, that's is there anything you got? Unless
No,
you,
you're good.
Great
You-
question.
You guys have anything that any funny stories that stand out working at the school or coaching or whatever, just from the past, or how some things have changed, anything like that?
Oh, there's so many stories.
They're looking at each other
Yeah.
like, should we say this?
Yeah, you can
probably
say
not.
it. You can say it. Just don't say the name, but you can say it.
Well, I will tell you a story about. I had this young man. He was one of my wrestlers, and a good wrestler. But one day at practice, I noticed all the kids were over in the corner, and I thought, what they got over there? So I went over there, and he had a professional wrestling mask. You know, he had the NWA. He had a professional
He read
mask.
the newspaper.
Yeah.
But anyway, I said, what are you doing with that? He said, I just brought it to practice to show the kids. I said, put it in your bag. I said, don't bring that to practice anymore. It's a distraction. I don't want to see it. You understand? Yes, sir. So he was a really smart kid, and he knew it. And he probably knew more about things than I did. So he didn't always listen. So we were out in a tournament somewhere one day, and he wouldn't, if you know anything about wrestling, when you're on the bottom, you do not reach back. Because if you reach back, your opponent's going to throw a half Nelson on you and turn you over and pin you. So
I didn't know that.
I know it now.
don't reach back.
It
Don't
makes
reach
sense to me.
So we were at a tournament, and the first match, and I said, don't reach back, don't reach back. Well, it's almost like I said, reach back. 'Cause he reached back, and the guy shot a half Nelson on him, turned him over and pinned him. He come over to me and said, I'm sorry, Coach. I said, I know. I said,
You are sorry.
I said, will you please listen to me? I said, I know that you're smart. And he was very smart. I said, but, I might know just a little bit more about this than you do. So will you please listen? He said, I will. I said, by the way, have you got that mask with you that you had at practice the other day? He said, it's in my bag. And I said, well, go get it. He said, why? I said, you don't listen to nothing I say. And I'm out here hollering and screaming, and this gym is full of people, and they're looking at me like, he's not going to pay you any attention. I said, I want the mask so I can wear it so there won't nobody know who I am.
Oh, man.
That's good.
Oh. Coach Thacker, you got any?
I've got a lot that probably can't tell.
We'll
but-
tell them anyways. It's fine.
I can always cover.
Worst case, it can get cut.
Yeah.
But I don't.
No,
I don't think
won't tell. I won't tell any of the bad ones. I'll tell you one of the most memorable days I ever had here came a tornado, and you didn't have cell phones, and
Why not?
so we're talking about. Well, yeah, I know 'cause you don't remember. Y'all don't
Hey, I
even remember
we
when they
remember.
didn't have
We
them,
remember.
A little bit.
but so lady drives up and said, "Y'all better get off the baseball field. The tornado's coming." So I get the team off the field, and by the time we get up here, it hit, and it hadn't hit. It didn't hit the buildings, except this old ag building out here. The tin was just rising and sitting back down, and gotten up in it. Now, you had 2 or 3 sports teams in here. You had the band in here, and it was just chaos. We had one payphone back there, and everybody had to wait in line to call it. And you had people running around screaming. They'd try to get through, couldn't get anybody at home. They'd think their house was blown away, and it was the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life. Had this one baseball player that walked up to me in the middle of all his case, and he talked about and told me how much fun it was. He said, this is really fun.
This is a fun time.
That just
exciting.
shows right there that kids just haven't changed that
No.
much.
They
haven't
we
changed.
want to say
Well,
kids
this
are a lot
same kid
different,
asked
but
me if his Letterman's jacket was reversible. I don't know why you put the thing,
Oh,
on it.
man.
Home and
Inside
away,
out.
Coach. Home and away.
Home and away.
Home and away. That's a good idea.
I want to make a
I may
quick
market that.
commercial.
Thinking
What
about-
was the worst beatdown you ever got in a sport, like from another team?
That's a good.
It is a good
That's
one.
a good one.
Worst beat.
What's the worst you ever got beat?
There's been some horrible ones. Some really one-sided, and lost some really one-sided, and everything in between. So I really don't remember what was the absolute worst. But I mean,
We try
took some
not to remember
shellackings,
that.
just like
Yeah.
took some shellackings, just like everybody else. It wasn't all success.
Yeah.
But you know what? If you won every game,
Wouldn't mean anything.
and if you won in life, and see, this is what we got to remember about coaching and teaching. It's not just about coaching and teaching. It's about preparing young people for the greatest competition of all, and that's the game of life.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to you're going to get beat.
So you're saying losing can teach you things.
it can
prepare
make you a
for life.
better person.
I think that's why I was so prepared for life when I left here.
But really, when you think about it, if you like Coach Thacker said, if you win at everything all the time, it's a big deal. You know, you don't appreciate it. You want to really appreciate a meal? Go hungry for about 2 weeks.
Can you tell Coach Griffin that winning's not everything? Tell him. Can you look at him and
I'm pretty bad.
and tell him winning's not everything?
winning is
pretty bad.
It's important, though.
It's
It
important.
is important.
Hey, it makes life a lot easier.
It does make
But
life
it's not
a lot
everything,
easier.
right, Coach Marlowe? That's
It's
what you're
not
saying. It's
everything.
not.
My
it's
problem
even-
was it made me a better father and husband when I won too. That was when I knew I needed to get out. I was like,
Yeah, 'cause you take it home with you.
You do.
So you coached 3 things. I know football and wrestling. What was the third that you coached?
Well, I'd help with track some too.
Oh yeah.
And then you're my own dad, and I can't even name the 7 that you named. Will you name the 7 that you
Well,
coached?
maybe I might have missed
7
counting because,
different?
as I said, the subject I didn't teach was math because that would have been a tragedy if I had. But it's football, baseball, track, tennis.
Didn't we do the academic bowl too, Coach? I'm trying to remember.
I actually did do that one time.
Let's go.
I inherited
I
that,
don't
y'all.
doubt that. I don't doubt that, Coach Thacker.
I inherited
Coach
that
Thacker
from
has hit
somebody.
the cycle.
He's a Swiss Army
Just
knife over here.
every
I
extracurricular.
believe
Did you
that.
did you direct the band?
No.
Okay.
No.
Well, now we did that one week.
Oh yeah, that
1 week.
Well, they got me to, 'cause the band director had a phone call, and so they said, "Would you watch her class while she takes this phone call?" Well, sure. It was during my planning period, so the band room was in there then. So she comes back, and I'm up there doing this. I don't know what I'm doing, but I just had to play something. I don't know, but I just had to play something. Then I got up there doing that, so when she walked in, I'd be doing it. That's gold. That's how it's done.
You also you were the fill-in golf coach too one time, right?
yeah.
You went and rode behind them.
That's
at
right.
The, yeah.
That's right. Free golf is the way I saw it. I filled
Let's
in
go.
for that. Yeah, that's right. So how many did I already name?
Well,
so you got-
you didn't say softball.
Yeah, you didn't say
Softball.
softball.
Was it slow pitch or fast pitch?
It was fast pitch.
Let's go.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, now that is, that goes to show you that it doesn't matter who the coaches is because we were really good. I had some really good teams in softball.
Because you're a good coach.
And
Well, a lot of
You
those
know-
girls ended up winning a state championship when
yeah,
they got
that was the last group of 8th graders I coached in softball ended up being seniors when they won the state championship. And, they all went to lessons. They all played travel ball all weekend, and I just kind of showed up and reaped the benefits. But I said, getting credit here for stuff I don't have anything to do with, but when you're in coaching,
pretty good,
you'll
though.
get the blame
Very nice.
Yeah.
for things you don't have anything to do with.
Oh,
so
for
take,
sure, yeah.
take the good with the bad because you're going to get it either way,
Yeah.
Well,
That's the way it is.
well, I got one last question for you guys, and then y'all don't get to sidestep this one now. It's gonna be a tough one. We talk about this a lot, but what we want to ask you is, who is the best athlete you feel like you've coached? Now, because when you're coaching, you get to see them in practice every day, and I've coached those kids where sometimes in practice you're just like, oh my goodness, how did he do that? Or how did she, So who's the best athlete you guys got to coach?
Well, he coached Terry, and he went to the NFL, so
That's
it's kind of
pretty-
hard to argue with that.
That's tough to
But with me,
argue.
it'd be hard. I don't think I could pin it down to just one.
I help you out.
I really don't. Well, now I did.
Locker room was
Yeah. You coached 3 of the 4 people sitting at this table. So
Yeah, that's right.
that-
So that's right. The only one I didn't coach was Ryan.
Yeah.
Because if I'd have coached basketball, that probably would have been about as big a tragedy as if I'd taught math too. Because I did. I played basketball, wasn't any good at it, and didn't even like it that much. But I
Neither
love
was he.
watching it, though. I love watching.
We beat East
basketball.
Hall our middle school year. I
I don't remember. I don't even remember a single game in middle school basketball. I remember practicing in this gym, but I don't remember at all. I remember one. But
This
Pretty
is
sure
a
I
good
made
place
that
to
up.
watch
That
a
wasn't true.
game.
Yeah.
Oh, this gym is like iconic. To me.
Yeah.
Oh, I
have
love
so
it
many
because the
memories.
bleachers, you actually got in the games because
Yeah.
the
Oh,
bleachers
yeah.
are so close to
Yeah.
the floor.
Right.
Yeah.
There.
You had to walk on the floor
That's-
to get in. Like
yeah.
you
That's,
literally, when the game would start, when there were high school games in here, you had to walk on that corner of the floor to come in there. Like you were literally on the floor.
Yeah, they don't have gyms like this anymore, and they were always my favorite. The old Commerce gym.
Oh, that one. Yeah. That was good.
Franklin County's pretty old. Elbert's pretty old. Those old gyms sound different than
Yeah.
new gyms. They're louder, and it's. I remember you leave Elbert County, you got a headache after the game. It's so loud in there. I love when people are right on top of you yelling at. I love it.
Hey, that's
I
a good.
loved it.
What was the favorite venue to play?
Well, if you remember at one time, I don't remember if you were here, Doug, but the old football field, before we reconfigured where it's at now, the old football
I was
field,
on the
it was
old
the
one for
baseball
2 years.
field, the old football,
Yeah.
it kind of overlapped each other.
But it was behind us.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
the infield, the
it-
baseball infield, and the backstop was turned that way. And so
Okay.
you had a
It
real
was-
short
okay.
right
It was down in
field,
the-
but
it was down
left
in the
field
hole,
was
right?
Where the heel.
But we always called the field, the sidelines were so close, the bleachers were so close, everything on the old field was just, I mean, it was right there. When we ran a sweep, a tall sweep, we never ran the tall sweep to our side because we didn't want to get hurt. That's how close the field was to the sideline. We'd always run it to the opposing side.
That's funny.
So, we had to watch. We had to be strategically, we had to watch when we got ready to run a sweep. Don't run it to our side. That's
awesome.
I bet that sweet worked pretty good with
it
Terry
was.
Allen back there, didn't it?
people come sailing out of bounds, and
It was close.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, it was
Yeah.
close.
Well, I'm sure the facilities now are just, it's like night and day from how it was, but,
Oh, they're so blessed.
Yeah,
I just,
it's-
this county has come a long ways, but again, the people, they've always had great people. The
Yeah.
county has
Yeah.
always had great people, and that's that's what I was so blessed again to have stayed here that many years, and that's why I stayed. It wasn't the facilities, and it wasn't this and that, but it was the people.
yeah.
You know what's great
This
about
makes
Banks County? This happened to me like a couple days ago. Me and Watson, my son, 5-year-old son, we were in our yard hitting golf balls around, playing around, and this guy pulls up, him and his grandson in my truck in my driveway. Immediately, I was like, Watson, you know them? And he's like, no. I was like, I don't either. Well, this gentleman gets out, and his grandson introduced herself and said, hey, somebody stole my tractor from the other side of the county. Have y'all seen the tractor? And I was just like, only in Banks County, and that's great. It's great. I think it's a great thing about our community,
Yeah, I mean, a lot seems like it's changed facilities wise and stuff like that. But that because I kind of was gone for 15 years. I was out. I took a route similar to him as far as went out in
Again,
the
not
world.
planned.
Yeah, and just messed around and then came back, and I was kind of disconnected for 15 years of my life, and I came back, and while facilities and stuff have changed so much, the people are still, it's still. So much is the same.
Yeah.
I mean, go to Golden Pantry in the morning and it still feels like it did when we.
Hey, if you don't want to know what they're thinking, don't ask me.
Yeah, that's right.
I'd rather somebody tell me the truth than to tell me a
That's
lie.
right. That's right.
Question: when you guys were here, there was a store at the bottom of the hill, a little convenience
James
store.
Wiley's.
Is that whose it was? I
Yes.
can remember when I was a kid, it was there, and we'd stop and
Yeah,
get
I
a Mountain
remember
Dew
that too.
slushy.
I'd stop there
Yep.
every day
Okay.
on the way home from practice.
Well, so did y'all go to the smoking tree? I've always heard about the smoking tree.
Yeah, it was right back here.
That tree died.
Yeah, that's right. It literally did. I don't think it's from the smoking. But,
I mean, it could be
I don't
it could
think-
be stressful around here at times.
but you talking about moving fast. When come in that way in the morning, there'd be a big crowd under the smoking tree, and they'd all see you coming. They'd all start stomping
So who
them out.
could go to the smoking tree?
Turning
The
around.
students, the teachers? Was it just whoever?
Well, it
How
was
did that?
not legal by the time I came
Oh,
along.
it was.
Oh, okay,
okay.
okay.
They still went though.
Yeah.
Well, old habits are hard to break.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man.
Well, I'm gonna piggyback off this. So, Coach Thacker, this will be easier for you. Coach Marlow, you're just gonna have to go, I guess, just off of appearance. Of the four of us, who's the most athletic?
Y'all
you
had your
gotta pick one.
strengths.
You gotta pick one.
You all had your strengths.
He didn't coach me. This is not fair.
Right.
It's
And
more fair.
You all had your strengths.
You don't
I
have
think
to
that's
pick
the
me,
only way
Coach.
he wouldn't say you is because he didn't coach you.
Yeah. Well, y'all all had your strengths.
I think we should have a race to figure it
And
out.
we could talk about potential, or we could talk about what they actually did, because y'all would be, some of you were more dedicated than others and that kind of thing. It was more important to you, or that sort of thing. And then, So no, I'm not going to say that either.
I would like-
if I'm
I
not
would
going to
like
tell
to
you the
say-
best
Just tell
athlete I
Ryan.
ever
Just
coached,
say
I'm
it's
certainly
Ryan.
not going to
Just-
pick between people
Ra-
sitting here.
Raise
I
your-
would like to say that I may not be the most athletic person at this table, but if athleticism contest was based on weight class like wrestling, then I would be really
Be the
good.
heavyweight.
Because I don't think there's as many as big as me that can hang. But yeah, I can't hang with you guys when it comes to anything else.
Frisbee golf.
Before I could make a decision on that, I'd have to take you to the weight room and let you do a bench press.
Oh,
And then
gosh.
I'd time you in the 40, and then I'd have an idea.
Well, the 40
Yeah.
would help.
Yeah.
Oh, it's gonna be
We
Jason.
should-
It's gonna be Jason for sure.
The 40
Yeah.
would help me. Then the weight room, probably not so
I'm
much.
definitely-
But you know
losing
what's
the weight
always
room.
amazed me about that is you can have the kid that's got the greatest bench press much more than this other one. Then you line them up on the football field, and the one that can bench press as much can be the one to move the stronger one.
I've seen,
You
yeah,
can't
he's saying
tell
it
until
is
you
his
actually see them on
Well,
the
you
field.
can't hit what you can't catch.
That's
Yeah.
right.
I've
Well, but
seen,
then you can time 40 times, and you can measure vertical leap, and you can do bench press, and you can get all these measurements.
Yeah.
But then you put them on the athletic field, and the guy that should have been the best athlete is not. For some reason, the best player
Yeah.
was not necessarily the best
Sometimes
athlete. There's just
strength,
something
weight room
there
strength
that you
doesn't
don't-
always translate.
Yeah.
Right.
You got to
Well,
be a
and-
gamer.
Then you-
gotta
then
be
you-
a
line
gamer.
speed doesn't always translate, and I saw that is, we had running backs that were just so that would have faster time when I started doing track, and they would be faster in the 100. Whereas there were people that I thought, well, now he's going to blow everybody away in the 100 because he runs up and down the field on Friday nights.
Right.
And then he wouldn't necessarily be the fastest. There's so many factors that you can't measure, like vision, instincts.
Yeah.
Well, I think
And-
also,
and,
and y'all were talking about it before we started recording, but now kids are so eager to specialize at such a young age. But you were talking about somebody requiring to play multiple sports. I think playing multiple sports helps athleticism because you learn different movements and
Yeah.
stuff like that. I think that helps.
Well,
too.
back then you
Kids
weren't
are missing
allowed to
that
work
today.
out year round, and so if they didn't play another sport, they'd get out of shape. Even if you didn't care for the other sport, if you play it,
I think I can remember
Stay in
you
shape.
telling us, Coach, go play another sport.
Right.
Go play. Don't
Right.
sit around and eat Twinkies and watch
Well,
WWE.
Right.
Go play
I
another
would
sport.
love to have. I wish that people could still do that, but I don't see how they have time to do it anymore.
Yeah, it's tough.
Everything,
I mean,
everything's
I
year-round.
know when I was coaching basketball, which I encourage kids to, do what they love doing. But we were all June. I would take about maybe a week, 2 weeks off, and we'd start 4-on-1s for basketball, unless the kid was in another sport. I think that's one of the reasons is we're everything is year round now, but I think one of the underrated skills is know-how. Because
Yeah, absolutely.
if I always think about rebounding, rebounding is about a mentality. Kids who know how to put an elbow where it needs to go, or a
That's
hook.
right.
Well, how
hook
like
on-
you talking? Are you
Or
talking about like
teach that.
IQ?
Some people
Yeah.
just instinctively
It just-
more that way.
They know how to
and-
go get it.
And we've talked about this before, but sometimes in football, a guy might not be the biggest, but if he's just a little crazy,
Just a little
that
crazy.
helps,
Just a little crazy.
We went to school with plenty of people that were skinny, but
Yeah.
would knock the heck out of you
Billy
on the football
Pinson.
field. Yeah.
Just a little bit, just have
And
that.
every sport's a little different. Like I felt like when me and Ben coached middle school basketball last year, we're you plan the game, the game, you know how to create space, you know how to do all that. And like me and Ben a couple times, like after practice, they'd want to play around, and it was just ugly because like we knew like how, a pick and roll, like
Yeah.
we knew, and
Yeah.
we were so much slower and
Yeah.
couldn't shoot,
Yeah.
but we knew how to do it because we'd been coaching.
You can-
also
you know?
because they're 14.
You can
felt good about it. We
you can
felt-
you can
well,
outskill athleticism in a lot of
If you- in some
sports,
sports, if you
particularly
know.
basketball. I think you can outskill people.
Well, there's an old saying, and I'd use it a lot, that it's not the size of the dog in the fight, it's the size of the fight in the dog.
That's right.
Yeah, and I
That's
hate to even bring this up, but like commerce football is an example of that, and that burns me up to even mention that. But like
I'll cut it out.
they do that. The option they run for what? Probably why
Forever.
y'all coached your whole career, but they knew how to take what they had and use it.
I thought we were friends. I don't see how you could compliment
Yeah.
commerce sitting right next to me
Everybody-
like that.
You have to pay the
buys
devil
in.
his due sometimes.
Everybody buys in That's the thing.
Yeah.
Well, that's the
they
thing.
grow
You're
up
talking about with
expecting
Jefferson
to
with
play.
wrestling. You know, with Jefferson, I've always joked that they come out of the womb wearing spandex. I mean, because it's just such a culture of wrestling, and Commerce is kind of that way too with wrestling and football. And you know, if it's a culture of something, then people are going to buy in at an early age and work hard. I think so.
Well, I think it goes back to what you were saying earlier, Coach Marlow, is like when you let the kids know, when they realize that they care about me no matter what. Like you took your losing seasons, but you said you didn't take them back to back because those kids didn't leave. You know, they stayed there because they knew you cared. That's how you build a tradition. That's how you build a culture.
The best motivator can be the memory of getting beat.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
That can be a very powerful motivator. So, you know, it's failure can create success.
We had a high participation rate. I'll tell you that. Kids came out and they stayed with it. And we'd have, you know, it doesn't sound impressive nowadays to say we had 50 people on the team. And what's the most we ever had? Maybe 55 one time. And, you know,
Still
we
a
played
lot. That's a
JV
lot,
out of
yeah.
that. And
How many kids were in
Yeah,
school?
you're talking
then?
about.
that's what I started to say.
Yeah.
You're talking about the
Probably
student-
600.
600.
I was about to say, I was thinking 500 or
you're talking about
600.
600.
That's a
well,
lot.
and you know,
Yeah.
and really one or two girls came out, but you know, really it's half that. It's
Half
the male
that, yeah.
population.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true.
You know,
Did you
it was
actually
the
have a
male
couple- did you
population would
actually
have
have
been
a couple
around
girls, or you
300
just
then.
didn't?
Yeah.
Yeah, there were a couple.
That's awesome.
There were a couple that played. You might have already. Might not have been the head coach by then, but I had
wouldn't.
somebody. They came out and played on. They played. I think maybe on the middle school team one year or something.
But here's the thing.
I moved up and down.
They deserve the right to an opportunity to try.
That's right. Do whatever they want to do. I mean, you know, and if you can do it, everybody ought to just be treated the same, and it all should come down to performance and whatever you can do.
Well, I think that's
you
why
do.
wrestling is. I mean, females in wrestling have taken off like crazy
Yeah.
in this county
Yeah.
in
Well,
particular.
now,
I mean, it's-
you did have some girls that wrestled, and you know, and they didn't have their own separate team. Then I'm glad they've got that.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I think
That's pretty new.
I think it's great. You had so many that want to participate, and there were some that did, but
Yeah.
They did.
yeah.
All right. Well, all of us, we're really thrilled that y'all sat down to do this. I don't know why you agreed to it, to be honest with you, but we enjoyed
Well, we
it.
didn't know
Y'all
we
are
were going to be
legends.
seen. I thought, you know, it's a whole lot easier if you just be heard. When he told me, I said, I wouldn't
I mean,
have said it if I.
Let's be real. A lot of people's probably not gonna watch the YouTube.
Yeah.
So
Oh yeah, I
y'all
guess
be
not.
okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to though.
Yeah.
I want to see how bad it looks, and I can tell you to take it down if it's
All
bad
right,
enough
all
or
right.
something.
If we look anywhere close as good as y'all do at your age, I think we'll be happy. with
let's
that.
be honest. I say it all the time. I'm not gonna make it that far, guys.
Oh, you will too.
The way I eat, you know, and but
Yeah.
Well, I just want to say I appreciate the opportunity because, again, I've got a whole lot more good memories about Banks County than I do bad. I mean, there's no comparison. But again, I go back, I reiterate what I've said. It's the people. The people from Banks County are the cream of the crop. I mean, we got good people we got good people everywhere, but these people genuinely care about their kids. And maybe they don't practice maybe the best policies in presenting their side of the story all the time. But what I always looked at was what was in their heart. And in what was in their heart, they wanted best for their kids.
Right.
And you can't fault anyone for that.
Well,
Yeah, that's the truth.
I know you guys have bragged on the community all, and I agree with you 100%. It's a special place, but just as two men who've put 30 plus years into a community, that's
Into one community.
Yeah. That's you guys, and I want to mention Mike Gordon as well.
Yeah.
Y'all are staples, and we definitely appreciate all your service for.
But you got to
for
remember
us.
about teachers, too. We've got teachers that taught here for 30,
That's true.
33,
yeah.
34
Yeah,
years.
for sure.
Teachers, that's a commitment, too.
It
We
is.
talked a lot about sports. But, those teachers chose to teach here,
Yep.
to be part of this community.
Yep.
And, like I said, it's just wonderful. I mean, there's some wonderful people out there.
Well,
We focus so much on the bad. The news media wants to
That's
focus
right.
on the bad.
That's
We
right.
need to focus on the good.
Absolutely.
moments.
Well,
for sure.
I want to tell you, regardless of all this noise you hear about education here and there, different media outlets and different things like that. Just don't lose sight of the fact that what y'all do is so important. You know, that's the bottom line of all of it, is that what you do is important, and that some people appreciate you anyway.
If you change one life, that's one life it might not have got changed if it hadn't been for you.
That's right. And some of them you won't even know until years later, and they'll walk up to you. That's the biggest reward of it all. Somebody walk up to you in the grocery store, and they still recognize you after all these years, and say that you made some sort of difference. That's the biggest reward you'll ever get.
Ryan will never hear that because he takes a hard left and avoids.
Well, see, here's the thing. They think it's a novelty. They're shocked to see you at the grocery store, and I know all that.
They think you just live here at the school.
Right. They think you're here. They would think they could come down here in the middle of the night and you'd be sitting here. That's not, I'm in after you're retired, Ryan, after you get old. No, now take the turn.
I
because you need a break like everybody else.
I hang that on left.
But someday you'll appreciate the fact that they recognize you.
Well, you guys like y'all did it so well. All four of us decided to come back, so y'all must have done something right for sure.
Yeah.
Well, Coach Thacker, I know you kind of didn't have a choice. Ben was going to throw you in the truck if you didn't agree. Coach Marlow, you had you don't know us except Ben. And Coach Thacker, but we appreciate y'all.
Y'all work here, and y'all are from Banks County,
yes,
right?
Sir.
That's
yes,
all
sir.
I need to know.
All right.
Yes, sir.
That's all I need to know.
Oh, shout out to my wife Sharon she's probably at home doing some kind of work while I'm sitting around down here shooting the bull, because I'm gonna tell you,
What
most
are you supposed to do
anything
when you're retired?
most anything that gets done, she's doing it or reminding me to do it anyway.
So his leash used to go to Thompson Street and then when he retired, she cut it, and now it only gets out to the end of their driveway.
That needs to be. Well, it's probably good.
I think it's funny that
when Ben needs something done, that he calls her and says, "Tell him that guy he won't listen to anything. Maybe he'll listen to you."
When we going fishing, Coach?
He can't get out of the driveway,
we
apparently. Coach Thacker's over here
No,
giving
she gives me a long leash. I get to do a lot of hunting and fishing. I have done a lot of that since I've been
Ben
out.
just leaves, don't even know.
Yeah,
Nobody
Ben
knows
just
he's
roll
going.
out. Ben got the longest leash of anybody here.
He just leave Clarksville, come to home.
It's something about, like, I guess, maybe I should take the hint. My wife don't want me at home if she never complains about me leaving,
He thinks I don't know, but I'm so glad he's gone.
All right, everybody, that's all we got today. Wanted to shout out our sponsor, Ringtree, again. Check them out in the links below. Use the code HOMETOWN10 for 10% off your first month. Don't forget to check out our website. Don't forget to follow us on social media. And remember,
It's better to be a has-been than it never was.
They
Like with the
can't edit
headphones,
this,
yeah.
Coach. So if you
That's
get a little
good.
carried away,
That's a
they've
good
got to
thing.
take it out.
You know how I am.
If I decide to tell them about that kid that had the big head and couldn't find a helmet for him at 100 degrees, and you ask him if his mama was still living.
Golden.
Remember, I was very serious when I said that.
Yeah. Remember he's still living. He didn't know why you asked him that. He didn't know why you asked him that. Me and Bobby, where we were trying, he couldn't see you, But me and Bobby was over there trying to keep from laughing. We just turned around like we was working on something because I was about to crack up.
Dang, it's hot in here.
It was.
But that we had to order that helmet special.
Yeah, we did.
I forgot it was in milk. I forgot it was in milk.
Right. You're dressed nicer than anybody. Like,
As usual.
I had to wear some vintage.
Vintage, I like
that's
that.
from when I was in middle school, right?
Yeah, and this goes back further than that. This is the new one.
Let's go. That's the new one.
This is the new. This is new.
Glad you wore your finest.
Thank
So
you,
all
man.
that gets cut out. So there we go. So anyways, yeah, that definitely gets cut out. Goodness gracious.
Oh, man.
He just likes to make Jason work hard.
Yeah, apparently.
It's keep.
Yeah, I am earning my keep, that's for sure.
Again, edit and
more.
get that out.
I'm serious, though. It's not a good.
See,
I can't remember.
Family
I can't
friendly.
remember.
Are you
Family
like
friendly.
free to
There's a
take
reason
over
you
his
don't go
spot?
around hitting.
Louise.
He brings a different perspective. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah, he's a great teacher.
He's
Jeez. Why is he still
What?
going?
okay.
All right, that's it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
yeah, we had that was a lot of fun.
All right.
appreciate what y'all do.